Hi, I'm Dr. Eli Whitney with the Heart and Vascular Institute of Texas. Today we're going to talk about obesity and weight loss. Ideal body weight is the weight compared to height that is associated with the greatest length of life. This was actually discovered by life insurance companies who conducted long-term studies between 1920 and 1940. One medical definition of obesity is weighing more than 30% above ideal body weight. The risk of death increases dramatically when a person weighs more than 40% above ideal body weight. When a person weighs twice the ideal body weight, there is a 12-fold increase in risk of dying. Weighing more than 100 pounds over ideal body weight, or more than twice ideal body weight, is defined as morbid obesity. A 30-year-old man or woman who has morbid obesity has a 25% chance of dying within 10 years due to the direct complications of obesity. The major complications of obesity are heart attacks, strokes, congestive heart failure, diabetes, hypertension, gallstones, arthritis, cancer, and electrical problems in the heart called atrial fibrillation. Traditionally, the success rate in treating obesity has been very poor. Virtually all obese individuals who lose weight in one program or another regain the lost weight within 2 to 3 years. 95% of patients who enroll in Weight Watchers were previously in Weight Watchers and are back for repeat business because of long-term failure. It seems like every few months you hear of a new miracle diet or miracle pill. Why is this? It's because all of the old miracle diets have failed. These miracle diets are a great way to sell books, but there are several very important reasons for the failure of most weight reduction programs. First, most patients are given poor dietary advice. The standard dietary therapy is to recommend calorie reduction. Sure, this always works for a short period of time. People eat less, they lose weight, but are left with chronic hunger. Chronic hunger is no fun, and eventually people get tired of being hungry and miserable. They begin to eat their way back up to their old weight. Why does this happen? This happens because the brain has a thermostat for weight. If a person loses weight by reducing calories, the thermostat turns on and tells the person, "You're hungry, go eat." This nagging message from the brain continues until weight is gained. If a person overeats the way most do during holidays, weight is gained. Once the holidays are over, normal eating patterns are resumed and the weight is lost without pain over the next several months. The thermostat for weight is determined to a certain extent genetically, and it is actually set by the end of puberty. Obese adolescents have less than a 3% chance of not being obese adults. There are only 4 things that affect the thermostat for appetite: stomach and intestinal stretch, exercise, medical illnesses such as cancer, and certain medications affecting the neurochemical called serotonin in the brain. Since people would rather not get cancer to lose weight, there are only 2 therapies which can provide long-term solutions for obesity. When used together, they will bring long-term success. The first is a diet which produces stomach and intestinal stretch. The second therapy is exercise. Let's look at each of these in greater detail. Caloric density refers to the number of calories per ounce of food. Certain foods have more calories per ounce than others. Fats and sugars have the greatest numbers of calories per ounce of all the foods. The visible fats such as oils, butter, and margarine have the highest number of calories per ounce. 2 tablespoons of canola oil contains 300 calories. The average adult only needs 1,800 calories to maintain weight. Therefore, eating just 6 ounces of oil per day will maintain weight with no other food eaten. Eating just 8 ounces of oil per day will cause the average person to gain 30 to 40 pounds over a 6-month period of time. Other high calorically dense foods are those which contain large amounts of sugar, such as chocolate, cakes, cookies, and pies. 1 piece of pecan pie contains almost 800 calories. If a person sat around all day and all they did was eat 3 pieces of pecan pie and nothing else, that person would gain 20 to 30 pounds over a 6-month period of time. The problem with calorically dense foods is that they provide a huge number of calories in a very small volume and as such do not stretch the stomach and intestines very much. If a person reduces the fat and sugar content of the diet, the volume of food that will be eaten will increase tremendously. This will produce stomach and intestinal stretch, which will turn off the appetite thermostat and reduce the number of calories eaten without producing hunger. This will lead to a painless and maintainable weight loss. The normal American diet contains 40% of its calories from fat and about 20% of its calories from sugar. In the Armed Forces Regression Study, 143 patients were instructed to eat a diet which contained less than 20% of its calories from fat and less than 10% of its calories from sugars. After 1 year, the average weight loss was 18 pounds, and at 2.5 years, the average weight loss was 21 pounds. The patients were told to eat all they wanted. So remember, stomach stretch is a powerful appetite suppressant. Let's look at some examples of the different volumes of food that must be eaten to obtain similar calories. If you eat just 3 ounces of fried shrimp, guess how many boiled shrimp you would have to eat to get the same number of calories? You need to eat 1.5 pounds to get the same number of calories. If you were to snack on just 3 ounces of cheese, how much asparagus would you have to eat to get the same amount of calories? The answer, 3 pounds. It's easy to fit 3 ounces of cheddar cheese into your stomach, but is it easy to fit 3 pounds of asparagus? Which will give you the stomach stretch and naturally suppress your appetite? It's easy to eat 3 ounces of bacon. How much boiled shrimp would you have to eat to get the same amount of calories? The answer, 4 pounds. Do you like nuts? How many green beans would you have to eat to get the same number of calories contained in just 3 ounces of peanuts? The answer, over 5 pounds. How hard is it to eat 3 ounces of peanuts or peanut butter? How hard is it to eat 5 pounds of green beans? Which is going to stretch your stomach? So you see why it's necessary to avoid certain foods to promote weight loss. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from an overweight person, "I hardly eat anything." And when it comes to the volume of food they eat, they're probably telling the truth. But when it comes to the number of calories, it isn't so. Eating high-fat and high-sugar foods will not stretch the stomach and intestine and will not cause appetite suppression. It's impossible to control how much you eat, but you can and must control what you eat if you truly want to lose weight. If you will change what you eat, you will lose weight naturally without feeling miserable. The eating habits that will reduce weight naturally are also helpful in lowering all of the cardiac risk factors, since foods that are low in caloric density are also low in fat, low in sugar, low in cholesterol, and high in fiber. The critical issue is to be able to determine what is in the food you are eating. Step number 1 is read the nutrition facts label. The new nutrition facts label have the number of fat calories and the total calories. If you divide the fat calories by the total calories, you will get the percent of fat calories. For the entire day, the percent of fat calories that you consume should be less than 20%. Hence, if you are eating foods which have 30 or 40% of their calories as fat, you will have to eat an equal amount of calories from foods which have less than 10% fat calories to balance out the day. In addition, sugar calories are the same as fat calories, so sweets should be greatly limited if you really want to lose weight and keep it off. What should you eat instead of regular potato chips? The fat-free pretzels and fat-free chips are good substitutes. Make no mistake, it's not unusual for the food industry to deliberately lie to people with misleading advertising. For example, some sandwich meats, like this turkey bologna, are advertised as 82% fat-free. This makes it seem low in fat. However, the 82% fat-free is based on the weight and not the percent of fat calories. When you do the arithmetic, the percent of fat calories is actually 75%. So the critical issue in calculating the percent of fat calories is don't believe anything you read on the label advertisements. Many soups, particularly the cream soups, are very high in fat and calories. For example, 70% of the calories in cream of mushroom soup come from fat. A cream sauce comes from butter, which is pure fat. Fortunately, the food industry now has developed many fat-free products which taste good, cook well, and are of great assistance in this area. The only problem is with the sugar calories. Many of the fat-free foods are really high in sugar and therefore no better than the standard product. Just take some extra time while shopping and you'll find that there are now many fat-free and low-fat, low-sugar products which are much healthier than the standard product. Again, the food industry can legally mislead you, the consumer. The legal definition of sugar is table sugar. Many products are labeled as being sugar-free, yet they taste very sweet. For example, have you ever heard of the fat-free, sugar-free, cholesterol-free frozen yogurt made with Equal? It sounds great, so what's the problem? The problem is that it's full of sugar. But because it's not table sugar, the food industry is allowed to say it's sugar-free. Table sugar is sucrose. Again, we have to read the labels. Corn syrup, fructose, maltose, dextrose, and glucose are common sugars which have the same metabolic effect on the body as sucrose or regular table sugar. Another problem area is the sugar-free candies and ice creams. These are made from sorbitol, which is the alcohol of the fruit sugar fructose. This is rapidly converted into sugar by the body, and the effect on health is the same as for regular sugar. What can you eat for breakfast? An omelet made from egg whites and fat-free cheese is a great way to start the day. Oatmeal contains less than 20% of its calories from fat, and bagels contain less than 10% fat calories. There are lots of options. Fruits are generally low in caloric density. However, there are two exceptions: bananas and grapes, which contain large amounts of sugar. An apple, pear, or cantaloupe are much lower in caloric density. People used to say, avoid beans, rice, and potatoes since they are fattening. These are actually very low in fat unless you mess them up with bacon bits, butter, cheese, or sour cream. Net improvement with a low-fat, low-cholesterol, and low-sugar diet only comes when you increase the beans, oats, vegetables, and whole grain cereal content of the diet. When a person cuts out red meat, progress depends on what is substituted for the red meat. If you substitute chicken with the skin for most red meat, the percent of fat will not change and no progress is made. If you eat 2 pieces of toast for breakfast with margarine, it's much better to eat 5 or 6 pieces of toast without margarine to get the same number of calories without the fat. Your stomach will stretch and keep you from eating the cheese Danish pastry. You need to plan your eating for the day and not let yourself get hungry around bad food. If you get hungry around bad food, you may develop a feeding frenzy. The worst thing is to allow yourself to become very hungry when there is no low-fat and low-sugar food around. What kind of food is available in the office at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning? Sure, a candy bar, a bag of potato chips, and other junk food. Wouldn't you feel silly eating a Mars bar and a bag of potato chips for breakfast? That's what you're doing when you start the day off with a breakfast that doesn't have enough calories to get you through to lunch. No wonder so many people are eating donuts in the morning at work. Is a lunch of 2 low-fat breast of chicken sandwiches made with fat-free margarine a good lunch? The answer is no. It doesn't have enough calories to get a person through to dinner. That lunch has only 200 to 300 calories. That's not enough calories. A big person is going to get hungry at work and miserable, and the only easy way to solve this problem is with junk food. Don't let yourself get hungry around junk food. Another important thing is don't have a bunch of high-fat and high-sugar food in the house. You may have gotten the chocolate for the grandkids, but if you're hungry and it's in the house, don't kid yourself. You'll put the chocolate down the hatch. Chocolate is good, but it's not worth dying for. Let's summarize the dietary approach to obesity. First, do not attempt to starve yourself. Starvation has never worked, and it will never work in the long run. Gimmick diets do not work long time. They only work temporarily by boredom and starvation. You have to eat enough food to keep you comfortable throughout the day. To lose weight painlessly, you must reduce the percentage of fat in your diet to less than 20% of total calories and restrict your sugar calories to less than 5% of total calories. The lower the better. You must learn what is in the food that you are eating and read labels. Do not allow yourself to get hungry around bad food. you'll go into a feeding frenzy and undo weeks or months of work within hours. Don't tempt yourself by having bad food in your house. If it's there, you're going to eat it. You've heard moderation in everything. Ha! Human beings are not moderate. If we were moderate, we wouldn't have very many health problems. I don't know a whole lot of people that are moderate. Do you? If you follow these few instructions, you will lose a lot of weight painlessly, and you can eat as much of the good food as you want. The next important therapy for obesity is exercise. In a very similar manner to diet, medical advice to patients for exercise has been poor. More than 30 years ago, the grandfather of exercise physiology, Dr. Ken Cooper, proved the health benefits of exercise. Cooper demonstrated that if people exercise for 20 to 40 minutes per day, 3 to 4 days a week, with sufficient exercise intensity to increase the heart rate to 65 to 85% of the maximum heart rate, then health could be improved. Exercise of this intensity usually makes people sweat and breathe hard. The typical exercises performed to accomplish this are jogging, very fast walking, basketball, and the like. Unfortunately, exercising at this level is, number one, not fun for a person who is not an athlete. Number two, injuries occur in over 70% of people over the age of 40 within 1 year, which are severe enough to cause disability when exercise is performed this vigorously. Number three is that the risk of sudden death while exercising vigorously is 50 to 500 times greater than the risk of dying suddenly when taking it easy. Hence, our exercise programs have been unpleasant, painful, injurious, and in some instances dangerous. No wonder exercise therapy has not worked well in our country. Perhaps the greatest breakthrough in exercise physiology has been the realization that for health purposes, the thing that counts is the total energy of exercise. The optimum amount of exercise is 2,000 calories of exercise per week. Walking 1 mile slowly burns 100 calories. Walking 1 mile rapidly burns 100 calories, while running 1 mile burns 105 calories. Hence, walking 3 miles rapidly or slowly per day improves health as much as running 3 miles per day. It's much safer and pleasant to walk slowly. Which do you think has a lower injury rate? The major mistake people make when starting an exercise program is to try to do too much exercise at one time and exercising too vigorously. If you have been inactive and want to start an exercise program, start by walking 1/4 mile slowly 5 days per week. In 2 to 3 weeks, increase the walking to 1/2 mile slowly per day, 5 days per week. Gradually build up your exercise over a year's period of time. Don't be in any hurry. If you push things too fast, you will injure yourself and it will cease to be fun. I hope this educational video has helped you better understand what you can do to not only lose those additional pounds, but to keep them off as well. Working together, we can not only improve the quality of your life, but also the length of your life. I'm Dr. Eli Whitney with the Heart and Vascular Institute of Texas.